Hello and welcome to the Orgasm with a Partner Masterclass. So I'm really excited to be making this masterclass for you for free and sharing some of my favorite tips, favorite tricks, but the really potent stuff that actually makes a difference and gets you results. That's what I'm here to share with you. So right off the bat, day one, first lesson is we need to center your pleasure. So one of the top things that will really inhibit orgasm with a partner is worrying about the other person's experience. In fact, getting into the other person's experience, constantly being in their experience, right? And I know like a popular fantasy that I used to have, and still sometimes I play with it, is seeing myself from another's perspective. So it was to the point where I couldn't even derive pleasure just from my own experience. It had to be through me being experienced through someone else. I had to imagine myself in another person's shoes experiencing me. So it's this consciousness of I'm an object for pleasure. I don't have my own pleasure. I'm just used for pleasure. This is really common with women. So this is one of the first things we have to address. And just knowing it's like, okay, this is a thing. This is something that I don't necessarily want to be the main aspect of my sex life anymore. I want to have more freedom, more flexibility. I want to have different experiences, right? I don't want to just compulsively land myself in the same position again and again, because things that can happen. So when you're with a lover, with a romantic sexual partner, and you're trying to enjoy it, but you're just thinking about what are they experiencing? Are they liking this? Are they enjoying this? Are they getting impatient? Are they getting frustrated? Is this okay? Are they okay? Do they even like doing this? Those things are not going to get you to orgasm. They're not. And you probably already know that. So there's a few things we're going to do in this lesson today. I'm going to instruct you how to those thoughts, projecting another person. We're going to, I have a strategy for that. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a vow to ourselves. And if you aren't ready for this, then you're not ready for it. But this is a really powerful thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much perform a ritual where we make vows to ourselves. And these vows are something like this. I vow to always honor my heart, honor my pussy, and follow my pleasure. I vow to always honor my heart, honor my pussy, and honor and follow my pleasure. Right? So you're making a vow to yourself that you center your pleasure. That means once you make that vow, once you make that promise, you can't break that, right? And if you do, you feel it. You'll feel it a lot more than before you made that vow to yourself, right? This is like marriage vows. You feel it if you break that. It feels much heavier. And you're willing to by making that vow, you're willing to face bigger consequences for breaking that vow. So we're kind of making this a little more intense. We're putting this a little more on the line. This isn't just like an option anymore. We're committing to this path. We're committing to your pleasure, centering your pleasure, to reaching orgasm and reaching the kind of orgasm you want to have, to, honoring your intuition and honoring what you want, honoring who you are. This is a vow. This is a marriage to self. It's like, I'm going to love myself no matter what. I'm going to love myself radically. I'm going to make sure that I get pleasure, that I know how to get pleasure out of every situation, no matter what. Even if it's pain. I have clients that as they were taking this on, they had really painful periods, and they found themselves starting to direct their attention towards pleasure, even in this moment of like great discomfort. They, were like, oh, I'm gonna taste these chocolates and really receive it and feel it and like let myself receive the pleasure of this chocolate. I'm allowed to experience pleasure at the same time as me experiencing pain. There's no reason that pain, suffering, discomfort gets to have more attention than my pleasure. There's no reason for that, right? Pleasure deserves to have just as much attention. We get to put our attention and focus on that just as much as pain and suffering. So part of this is also like taking off that romanticization, that emphasis on suffering, on sacrifice, on pain. It's kind of a gross, insidious thing, in our culture. So we're letting a lot of these things go. And we're really, really committing to this. So I have instructions for you for this ritual, and you can dress it up however you want, but really feel this. If you have to repeat it, that's okay, do it in like a month, but like really feel this, know this. It's like I am vowing this to myself, and this is really important. My relationship to myself is really important. It's the number one relationship in my life, which means that my pleasure is the most important thing. And making sure I get this, like I have this deep desire to have beautiful, wonderful sex with a partner. I'm going to get it. I'm going to have it. I vow this to myself. I'm committed to the path to get there, whatever that means. Period. Feel it. Vow that. Remember that. And yeah, if you find yourself like, what'll happen is, let's say you're having sex with a partner and something's not quite comfortable, like you want them to maybe, rub your clit a little differently or whatever, and you don't speak up about it, you're gonna really feel it. You're gonna be like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And it'll almost like be like you can't eat, like you're out of the moment completely. And you know that the only thing that'll get you back into this moment and get you back on the path is if you tell your partner to move their fingers or touch you differently. And then it feels really good. And then, you orgasm. That's how it works. That's where we get started. That's where a lot of the work happens, is simply making the vow, making the commitment. And then whenever those voices are coming up, whenever you're noticing something that it's like, I need the, in sex, I need it to be this way. I need it to be that way. In life, it's like, I can't put up with that anymore. That's just really it's not my shit. I'm not doing that. And as you start to have less and less tolerance for things that just aren't right, that aren't right for you, that aren't what you want, you're going to be making more and more room for pleasure in your life. And more room for really soul-satisfying experiences and relationships. And you can be assured that it'll be that way for both parties involved, right? Likely, if you are not having a great time in a relationship, the other person isn't either. Or they're in complete denial. Which, it's just not real. It's just not real. So I'm being real with you. Like, sometimes the partner you're with, part of this path, part of making this commitment is you might have to make some really painful cuts from your life. Some really uncomfortable shifts and changes. Because sometimes it's not you, it's your partner. For whatever reason, you don't feel safe enough with them. They're not compatible enough. There's someone out there that is way more compatible for you. And you're going to find them. But this person, like, they're kind of compatible. That's still not good enough. That's still, like, you can have better. You can have more. And you should, because then you're going to meet a partner and it's going to be the same experience for them, where they're like, this is the best sex I've had in my life. And you're gonna be like, this is the best sex I've had in my life. And it's gonna be a mutual experience. That's how this works. So really getting out that mindset of like win, lose, you know, someone's getting off tonight, it's not me, you know, if he orgasms, I don't. All these things, all these little stories we tell ourselves, like we're throwing them out the window. That's the experience you might be having. That's the experience maybe all your friends are having. But is that the experience you want to have? No? Then we're going to create a new experience. We don't need to look to others anymore to validate what we want. You want to have an amazing, compatible relationship where you're both just like, you orgasming makes him orgasm, like turns him on, like her coming makes you come, you know, like you want that, then you can get that and you can create that. But it starts with being like, what's most important to me is that I center my own pleasure, prioritize my own pleasure, prioritize the desires of my heart, my soul, my pussy, and that I don't override that or doubt that for anyone. There's no reason you need to do that. There's no reason you need to do that. Pleasure does not come from ignoring yourself, ignoring your, subtle wisdom. Pleasure does not come from denying yourself your desires. So that has got to end. If that's what you've been doing, that has got to end. And it starts by making a very serious vow to yourself of no more. No more. This is my desire. This is my goal. There's no other option. I will do anything to get there. That's the first part. The second part is no penetration before you're a full 100% yes. No. This is a rule to follow. Because what happens is if your pussy is not ready, if your body is not ready for something to be inside of it, or for any sort of, like if your nipples aren't ready to be touched and you're allowing them to be touched, how is your body, how is your inner self supposed to trust you? How are they supposed to open up for anyone? How are you supposed to relax ever if you're putting yourself in situations where you're not advocating for your pleasure, you're not advocating for the experience you want to have? Right? So this becomes anytime you're sexually involved with someone and it's not quite right, it's not there 100%, and especially with any form of penetration, it's just a no. It's just a no. For that moment, it's a no. You could be ready later, for sure. Most definitely. If the sooner you make sure you're doing things that actually feel really good, the sooner you'll be at an orgasm. Guaranteed. But if you're putting it off, it's just you'll get more and more spaced out, more distracted, on another planet, and it's gonna be harder to get back onto that path. So do yourself a favor and always speak up for yourself. Even if it's scary, just know it's like, I'm doing this for myself, I made a vow to myself, and that's more important than anything in this world. It's more important than being embarrassed. It's more important than, think of it as like an inner mom-child, relationship. What if you had a child before you that was uncomfortable? Would you, just be like, oh, like, shh. Or would you be like, what do you need? I got you. Like, someone bullying you, I'll go find them. Like, I'll take care of you. Don't worry. I got you. What would you really do? Would you really tell them to just shut up and get over it? No, probably not. So why are you doing that to yourself? Do not do that to yourself. Do not do that to yourself. Really think of it as a mother or a parent inner-child relationship. And so if you're hearing those voices inside that are like, I'm not ready, like this doesn't feel good, then you're gonna go out there and be like, all right, I will make sure that you are heard. Doesn't mean you're like some bitch or you're crazy or you're mean. You don't have to communicate it that way, right? And I hope that you're with a partner who will heed your communication and you don't have to be aggressive about it. They'll simply be like, I'm not ready. And they'll be like, cool. Totally cool. Let me know what you want. Oh, you don't want to even do anything sexual? That's totally awesome. Let's do something else. That is what you should be experiencing. There's really no other option. There's really no other option. So, you know, you're advocating for yourself, you're listening to yourself, your inner self, you know, that quieter inner voice, but you can hear her, you can feel her, right? You feel that tinge in your body, that like little discomfort. Don't ignore those little tinges. Those little feelings are a huge piece. Those little feelings are actually a big deal. Do not ignore them. Do not ignore them. Do not ignore those inner urges. It's like, it's not quite right. It could be a little better. Then make it a little better. Show them how to touch you just a little bit better. Let yourself enjoy it, you know? And, you know, release those stories that asking for what you want isn't sexy, or nobody's supposed to know. Nobody's supposed to know until you tell them. And your desires can change in any moment. So always feeling comfortable, just speaking up, having a partner that's always comfortable with you saying what you want and going with it. This is how it works. And all of the times where I decided to kind of shift, you know, the positioning or shift what was going on, every time it's just got me to orgasm, sometimes almost immediately. Right? So it's like those little moments where it's like, okay, maybe like a little different. I've never done this before. I don't know why I'm feeling like it should be this way, but let's just try it. And bam. And what partner wouldn't love you being an ecstatic pleasure? You know? So you don't have to worry about that, right? Like, oh, you're changing things up on them. Don't worry. Trust yourself. Trust that it's going to get you there, and it's going to be amazing and awesome for both of you because you're sharing pleasure. It's mutual pleasure. It's like, yes, awesome. Why not do that? Why not speak up as soon as possible every time? Every time. Another really important thing is sex should only be painful if you want it to be. So if you're feeling discomfort of any kind during sex, pain, and you didn't sign up for that, that's not the experience you were wanting to have in that scene, speak up immediately. Speak up immediately. Immediately. There's no reason to be in pain unless you want to be. Don't put up with pain. Don't make sex a painful experience. Don't make sex a painful experience. So these are vows. No more painful sex, no penetration or any sort of interaction before you're ready. Always speaking up for what you want, or at least communicating that that's what you don't want. You know, making these vows to yourself, to your inner self, your inner child, however you want to imagine that. You know, promising to her that she's going to feel good and have a really good sexual experience from this point on, no matter what. You know, and you'll slip up, you'll feel it, but you'll learn and you'll keep learning and learning, and it'll just keep progressing. There's no going backwards from this. So this is the big piece. The big piece. So making these self-commitments, making these vows.